Hey guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform in Namibia known as Nduna Wengombe, which means headman of cattle. By name, of course, Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the headman of cattle. So today I'd love to talk about dehorning. I know people be like, Mitch, dehorning really? We all know this. I know many of you experienced farmers, many of you well-informed farmers do dehorn and are well-informed when it comes to dehorning animals. But when I traveled back to Katima and to many communal areas that I've gone to, I've noticed people don't dehorn their animals. I've noticed that. And I think it's a practice that people should do, particularly when you are farming with your animals and you always come into close daily contact with them. You don't want to have a situation where one of your cows has a calf and she's so aggressive that she chases you and she punctures your worker in his stomach or in his chest or on the throat or injures him because he entered the crawl and she wanted to be very protective. So it's very important that people invest in dehorning methods and learning the different dehorning methods. The one method that I liked the most when I was still livestock farming, particularly cattle farming, I used to like dehorning. I used to like the dehorning iron, which is this guy. You can buy this at an Agra or a Cap Agri or any agricultural supply store. They'll sell this guy. You get your dehorning iron, you get your dehorning scissor, which you can also get at any agricultural store. The difference of the scissor was rather than it closing like this, like most scissors, or most scissors close, it was more of a you when you want to cut, when you open it, you hold it like this. When you want to cut the horn, when you've now put the scissor in position to cut the horn, you lift it so it'll snip the horn off. And then from there on you get your dehorning iron, which is put probably that time in fire. I used to put it in wooden fire or charcoal fire, depending which fire we're using that day. We didn't have the gas heater. I know most guys have the gas fireplace, which uses gas to heat up this. And then you take this, you come and press it on the spot that you've. I'm demonstrating on myself. Sorry. You come and press it on the spot where you dehorn the cow. You press it and you do it in a circular motion. Your hand has to do a circular motion, is to make sure that you're burning the right spot. Because if you don't, you end up just burning and you take it away. Sometimes the horn can regrow. So it's very important that you go in a circular motion. You press it not too hard, but you just press. You be firm and you run it a bit around, as to prevent bleeding and also to prevent the regrowing of the horn. And another thing is when you're done utilizing it, don't put it in water because you weaken this. What you need to do is take it out and put it in sand. I used to take it out after I'm done using it and I'd put it in the sand. And then from there on, it would still keep its powers to be able to turn warm. Another thing that I've seen, I have not used it. I've seen some videos. I've seen some farmers, some of the experienced guys, they use a curved knife, not your okapi, but I've seen one guy use a okapi once. They use a knife which is curved. A curved knife, the expert guys will just bring it because you dehorning an animal at 2 to 3 months old. Put it right next to the cow's head and then just one clean swipe, get the horn off. I've seen experts do that. I don't think I have the capabilities of doing that. I probably end up injuring the animals. They don't even cut it. They just press at the horn in one go. The horn falls off. That's something that I've seen experts do it, and then from there on they would bring the uh, burning iron and they would burn the part where they've cut, because remember, bleeding is going to happen. The calf is going to bleed. Definitely it's going to bleed. So you want to stop the bleeding. You want to press it, keep on pressing it, burn it, burn it, burn it till the injury stops bleeding. And then from there on, if the injury is still bleeding, get your disinfectant. Of course, very important, guys, always have your disinfected spray. It can be the blue spray you buy from any store. It could be the one that looks brownish in color. Always disinfectant spray here to avoid infection. Because remember, you're cutting open, you're exposing an injury, and you want to make sure that this place is not going to get infection. And always try to prevent the bleeding, because when you are dehorning animals right now in summer, which here in Namibia it's summertime and it's raining, flies. And the problem with flies is that come sit here where the animal is bleeding, drink the blood, and then from then lay eggs. After laying the eggs, you have maggots, and you don't want maggot infestation on your animal, because now you have to spend extra money to get rid of the maggots. So this is something that you have to pay attention to. Always pay attention. Make sure you burn properly, that the animal stops bleeding. And if you notice that the animal is still bleeding, you can add a bandage. You can add a bandage with some cotton, and the cotton has some disinfectant spray, or liquid on it, and you put that on the cow. You paste it on the animal's head so it stops bleeding. I know the rough cowboys of yesteryears. I've seen some of my uncles even do this. They just take some dunk, wet dunk, and put it there to stop the bleeding, which can also stop the bleeding, but I think it might lead to infections later on. So that's one way you can look at it. Another way I've seen people are starting to use dehorning gel, dehorning paste. I think this only works when the animal is still young. You can't use the dehorning paste when the animal is 4 or 5 years. I think you use it when it's 2 to 3 months, when the horns are starting to come out. You smear the dehorning paste. What it does, I think it has a chemical. With time, it would eat away at the horn, and then the horn would naturally fall off. Another thing that I've seen when it comes to bigger animals, when you're dealing with your big Brahman bulls, your big Bosmara bulls, your big Afrikaners or Simbra bulls that have horns, very sharp, pointy horns, you can utilize a dehorning iron. I mean, some people would cut the tips, trimming of the tips, meaning your cow's sharp, pointy tips. Like this cow of mine, my old cow, one of my favorite cows, actually turned her horn into a cup. What they did here, if you can notice, you see the sharp, pointy tip where it's supposed to have a sharp point here, because this is the part that inflicts the most injury, this part. This is the part that punctures a person. This is the part that when it's fighting with another cow can cut, cause a terrible cut, cause a terrible puncture, could injure you as the farmer, could injure your farm workers. A cow's horn is not a joke, colleagues. This can kill. This is a weapon. Just like how buffaloes can kill lions, this was designed to kill. So if this animal ends up catching you in the chest, good. If this animal catches you in the chest with a good hit, could mean death. I've heard the stories of people dying from bull attacks. So what you can do, what we did here, we trimmed the top with a saw. We utilized what they would say in Afrikaans an Eastersaag, which is a metal saw. I cut the tip off, and then we took some sandpaper and we sandpapered this horn till it became nice and round and blunt. It would hurt, of course. If this cow was to give you a nice knock with its horn, it would hurt, but at least you'd not get any punctures or, punctures or holes in you. So this is one thing you could look at it. Um, Another one that I've seen some farmers are doing, well, I saw a farmer do it. They take a PVC plastic pipe, they tie it on the cow's horn. While this is still young, this is a bit big, this is a big cow, because it's hollow inside there. So they tie it on the cow's horn, tie it very firmly here where the horn meets the skull, Tie it very firmly here to stop blood circulation within the horn. When that happens, this thing does not get blood anymore. What eventually means it dies, it becomes dead, because the nerves that are supposed to be getting blood and so forth aren't getting. It it starts self-decaying, it stops getting blood, it starts getting rotten, and then after a while it falls off the cow's head. And then you have a cow with no horn. But what sometimes would happen is, what I've heard from some farmers is it would leave that hole, but with the time that hole would always recover. So that's dehorning. You need to do honest to to keep yourself safe, yourself and your farm workers. You need to do honest to keep your other animals safe, because if you have two bulls with horns, very sharp horns, these animals can inflict serious damage on each other. I've seen bulls fight and they've one bull was ended up puncturing the other one in the chest. The other one got a punctured wound, and it ended up dying. And imagine you spend so much money on your bulls or your cows or your worker. You're sitting in Vinduk, or you're sitting in Okanje, wherever you live, and you get a phone call, your farm worker is telling you, listen, one of the farm workers was attacked by the cow, and the cow ended up inflicting serious damage on him, and he is bleeding right now. We need to get him to the hospital. This dehorning can actually prevent you from getting lawsuits also, colleagues. Something you need to pay attention to. So, and I gave four. I think that's 4 or 5. The last one I'd love to give is purchasing animals which are pole-headed. Pole-headed animals means cows that do not grow horns. It's in their genetic code that this animal, even though it produces calves, would always prevent its calves from growing horns. Farmers now, including myself, in my yesteryears of farming, I started focusing on purchasing pole-headed bulls, pole-headed cows, because at least they could pass their genetic on to their calf as to prevent their calf from growing horns, which meant that I would not need to spend the extra hundred, extra thousands, or whatever I'm going to spend on buying dehorning gel, buying dehorning iron, buying dehorning scissor, buying the curved knife, buying the saw to do all this thing. It means that the cow, because let's say the bull and the cow are both pole-headed, they would pass the genetic to their calf to prevent it from growing horns. What are the breeds that are naturally polled? Angus is one of the most popular naturally polled animals. They don't grow horns. But I'm seeing now even with Brahmans, Bosmara, Simbra, Simmentals, even Goonies, they're breeding those Goonies that don't grow horns. That's what people want, because if you want to avoid the work of having to wake up very early on a Friday, take leave, travel down to your farm if it's not far away, and go spend the weekend at Dehorning over 200 animals, you can buy pole-headed bulls. And with that pole-headed bull, eventually, when it starts producing calves with your horned animals, it would start introducing the genetic code that prevents them from growing horns, and you'd start having naturally polled animals, which means less work dehorning. So dehorning is very important, colleagues, because when you are selling animals to feedlots, remember these animals are going to be in close proximity with other animals, and they're going to be standing next to each other. And if you sold oxen with horns, they're going to be bullying the other ones. They're going to be injuring the other ones. When they get into the truck that comes to collect them, take them to the abattoirs, they would be in a confined space, which would mean sometimes you'd end up getting injuries because of the horns. If the horns are too big, it's going to be hitting on the cages and causing self injuries and so forth. So you want to avoid these things, and also for your personal health, for your personal safety when you are doing cattle handling, you don't want to have animals that have very big horns that would cause a threat to you. Because this cow, if this one was very sharp, decides vandag zakala, as the South Africans say, vandag zihisa zintu, the papa saldans, and this one was quite sharp. This cow could really inflict serious damage on you and could even cause death. So this is why it's very important to invest in dehorning techniques, learn the various dehorning techniques. If people are willing to show you how it's done, go and learn from them. If you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it, but you need dehorning to happen at your crawl, give me a call. I'll charge you for it, of course. Give me a call. I'll come through to your farm. I'll charge you for it. But learn the dehorning techniques, colleagues. Learn the dehorning techniques so you dehorn your winners, your heifers, your animals while they're young. Because trying to deal with a bull which has some serious sharp horns when it's older, it's serious, serious damage. I'm sure many of us watch the Spanish fighter bulls, and those bulls which are sharp horns, what they do to those people. You do not want a horn of a bull piercing you. It's very painful. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say bye for now. Enjoy your evening.